Our next guest has a great headline for us. Here it is. Connecticut is drowning in debt. Should the rest of us have to pay? Mitch Daniels is here, former governor of Indiana. He wrote that headline in the Washington Post. Governor, it's great to see you again, sir. Welcome back.
Hi, Stuart.
You are referring to the real crisis in the payment of pensions to retired government workers in California, Illinois, New Jersey, New York, and yes, Connecticut. I read your article. There's no solution here, is there? We can't pay.
First of all, I'm not picking on Connecticut uniquely. I was observing the historical irony that the protection for the solvent states is the U.S. Senate, ultimately, if there's an attempt to nationalize these debts, as I think there may be. And that happened to be the Connecticut Compromise. Their delegates to the convention created it. But they're just one of, as you indicated, a number of states, including some of the biggest states, that are in deep water. I think it is irretrievable. Pensions is the core of it. It's not the only fiscal recklessness that they have practiced. But it is, in some of those cases, the bills are genuinely unpayable.
What's the end game? If the bills are unpayable, and I've seen your numbers, they are unpayable, how does this thing end?
Someone's going to the barber shop. It first will be the taxpayers, already pretty beleaguered in some of these states. But I don't think they can raise taxes in many of these places enough to come close to the debts they already have and the unfunded promises that they have made. So there may be a way in some states to have a reset of the pension obligations, although in some places they've actually been constitutionally protected. So that's not available. And
they can't declare bankruptcy,
therefore, if you're a bondholder, be careful.
Yeah, well said. I just want to roll you some tape from President Trump, who made that deal with the Europeans yesterday about trade with the Europeans. I'm sorry, I don't have that soundbite available. But essentially, Governor, I believe you were originally critical of the whole idea of trade tariffs. Now, what do you say after the agreement between us and the Europeans reached yesterday?
Oh, I don't comment these days from my perch as a public university president on the topical matters or political matters. I will say that, as a general rule, it's always been a good idea to trust the American farmer's ability to compete. And we ought to be trying, as many have for a long time, to get out of the business of creating surpluses and then buying them up or subsidizing them. So I think we play a dangerous game. I live here in a state which is one of the biggest soybean and corn producers and exporters, and I know a lot of farmers, and the vast, vast majority would greatly prefer to be allowed to compete successfully based on their skill and technologies like we produce at Purdue.
But if you get a trade deal with China, and you've got one with the Europeans, your farmers in Indiana, or wherever it is that you live, and wherever you're meeting these farmers, they're going to look pretty good, aren't they?
That's why I don't want to prejudge or comment on the wisdom of this or that immediate policy. It could all work out well. Let's hope it does. I would just say over the sweep of time, bringing back these 1930s programs in a big way, as was suggested recently, is something that is probably not a good policy for the future.
All right, Governor, we will be watching it. We thank you very much for being on the show today, sir. Come again soon. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.